In this episode, we're going to be talking about Window Genie. There's a lot that I like about the business. Specifically, as a starting point, they are backed by Neighborly. It's one of the behemoths in the home services space. There's some aspects that they don't disclose, which are mostly expense related. But in particular, when you dig into the item 19, there's a few things that they lay out that I think was super helpful. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Rick Vazza with the Drive Podcast. We're going to be digging into more adjacent businesses. If you're familiar with me, you know I own plumbing companies and specifically got into the franchise world through Zoom Drain, which I've been very happy with and really love the franchise space now, which has been a big 180 for me. But plumbing, HVAC, electrical, they've been getting a lot of attention from private equity. Specifically, I'm looking at other brands, like adjacent brands that also touch home services, but maybe aren't garnering the same attention. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Window Genie. So selfishly, these are things that I'm interested in as potential options as we look to expand down the road into other service lines that could help our customers. But I figured I'd share that information because there's a lot of amazing brands out there and there's still a lot of territories open. I am now a franchise consultant to help people get into franchising because I've had such a 180 in my life on how I felt about franchising. So if you do ever have any interest in connecting with these brands, please reach out. It's nice, there's no cost to you, but I'd be happy to connect you with the people who you should be speaking with to learn more and just make sure it's a good fit for you. You can reach out through the comments there. There's some notes about how to get in touch. So when it comes to Window Genie, there's a lot that I like about the business and why I find it so interesting, but specifically as a starting point, they are backed by Neighborly. So if you're not familiar with Neighborly, it's one of the behemoths in the home services space. It's a conglomerate of about 30 plus brands. So just going over here, you'll probably recognize many of them, if not all of them. These are brands like Mr. Handyman, Mr. Rooter, Mosquito Joe, Molly Maid, ones that you've probably seen all over town. And they've obviously made a pretty serious impact on the home services space and they have a lot figured out. So I think when you're joining a conglomerate like this, there's a lot of benefit to the wealth of knowledge that you're tapping into, which certainly makes Window Genie attractive as one of their sub-brands in the portfolio. Specific to Window Genie, I particularly first found it because we do a lot of restaurant business on the drain side. As you can imagine, they typically have a lot of drains backing up. We also help them on the plumbing side with their tankless water heaters, their faucets, their drains, their piping in general, all that stuff. But what I thought was interesting is, especially with window cleaning, you're typically seeing a lot of recurring business with these restaurants. So it could be something very interesting for us as a partnership or some sort of joint venture to be working with window cleaners. So piqued my interest and I've started digging into a little bit more. And have so far been liking what I see. So, first things first, the window cleaning industry, just kind of give you some background, it's historically been actually a lot of people tend to think about commercial, like restaurants, office buildings, things like that when they think about window cleaning. As you can imagine, when COVID happened, the industry did see a decline in their commercial space, but it's typically seen an increase in residential. And with that has also seen some popular trends. These are things like eco-conscious decisions on even the products that are being used, safety decisions on how the services are being provided. So, think of like second, third story windows. How are those getting cleaned safely and effectively? The idea is keeping people off of ladders, keeping them safe, making sure that you're doing the job effectively but safe as safely as possible. There's been a lot of interesting initiatives going on there that I have found pretty attractive. Obviously, the industry in general is massive. And it certainly helps to have the brand recognition that someone like Neighborly and Window Genie have. So I think that makes it appealing. Digging into their item 19, again, for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the financial section that franchisees can disclose. Window Genie does disclose a lot of really helpful information. There's some aspects that they don't disclose, which are mostly expense related. But in particular, when you dig into the item 19, there's a few things that they lay out that I think was super helpful. So first and foremost is their median average ticket, right? So what is the median job amount sold? It's $482 in 2022. Obviously, we're waiting on the 23 numbers to be posted. 22, they had about 4 jobs done per day. So when you look at, we had how many jobs completed per day? About a little over 4. Well, some back of the envelope math there is if you're doing $482 per job and you're about 4 jobs per day, that's a little under $2,000 in revenue per day per vehicle. So it's about $1,900, call it. On a monthly basis, you typically are going to assume about 20 working days in a month. Not always the case, but typically about there. It's even assuming they're not working weekends and anything like that. That puts you at a little under 40,000 in revenue for that van for the month. It's about 38,500, and you annualize that out. That's about $460,000 per van per year, according to the FDD. So you can see that is pretty attractive numbers per vehicle. I mean, we like to see that on the plumbing side, so that's pretty damn good. The other thing that really jumped out to me here, this is pretty cool. Look at this, median percentage of jobs on a recurring basis. That's a big topic that I'm talking with people about when they're looking at getting into business. How much of that business is recurring? This is a staggering 60% median number, which is really, really attractive for just about any business. But that's typically what home service newbies are really asking questions about that when I'm talking with them. So really stood out there. That repeat business is pretty us a little bit on the revenue side, not anything really to unpack on the expense side. So that looks like it's going to be behind the scenes conversations with the franchisor to learn a little bit more about what you're going to be projecting out to make sure your financial projections come out and check out correctly. But as a starting point, looks pretty interesting from that standpoint. And then the support factor. So, as you're getting this ramped up, obviously, like I said, being part of Neighborly, they have the marketing prowess and everything like that. The other thing Neighborly promotes and really kind of hangs their hat on is this Pro Trade Net. So when you're going into Neighborly, it gives you some information on kind of what this all means. And it's pretty interesting. Again, I don't work with Neighborly. I don't have an affiliation with them, or my brand isn't part of them, so I'm not intimately familiar with this. But when you're looking down here at what it does, see there's a lot of business services and a lot of various things that are being offered to the franchisees through the preferred vendor network. So pretty interesting. I would love to learn more about this personally and understand exactly what this entails and what goes into this package. But these are all the types of questions I'd be asking the franchisor going through that validation process. Kind of at a high level, a bunch of these things really pique my interest and stand out that hey, this is a pretty interesting business. But then there's obviously a lot to unpack that really only the franchisor can do it. Just to close out here from an investment level, when it comes to Window Genie, they're looking at a 7% royalty, $65,000 franchise fee, which is for about 50,000 households. You're able to purchase potentially, if the territories are available, more territories with potentially a discount. That puts you in at about $140,000 to $275,000 all in with the initial investment expectation. It is financeable, so if you needed to talk with an SBA lender or look at the 401k, Rob's opportunity, there's things that could be done from that perspective. But does certainly offer an attractive entry point for a business that can really scale out and looks like it has some really significant potential there. So I hope this is helpful. As you can see, I'm pretty interested in it. But if you do have any further questions, feel free to drop comments. If you want to reach out directly to explore the brand for your own personal reasons, I'll have a link to our website where you can fill out a form to get in touch as well. Thank you. And as always, please get in touch, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'd really appreciate it as we get this thing growing.